Shalom and thank you to another session of Nefesh B'Nefesh, learns about communities in Israel. My name is Eli Bialik, and I am the community advisor at Nefesh B'Nefesh. If you have any questions about this webinar that we're doing today, feel free to shoot me an email at communities@nbn.org.il. If you are within 10 months of your tentative Aliyah date, please go to the Nefesh B'Nefesh website, nbn.org.il, and submit an Aliyah application. It is wonderful to have everybody here with us tonight. We are going to be talking about the community of Alon Shvut in Gush Etzion. And we have with us Shoshana Porath, who is the director of Olim Absorption, Gush Etzion Regional Council, and three other representatives from the community, Lonnie Goldberger and Jonathan Hefter. Both of you are residents of Alon Shvut, as well as Gila Brill, who is a VOD member, a member of the community council. And we are so interested about hearing of this wonderful community, Alon Shvut in Gush Etzion. And Shoshana, would you like to start off with a presentation and tell us a little bit about Alon Shvut?
Sure. So Alon Shvut is one of over 20 yishuvim or communities in the Gush Etzion Regional Council. We're located about 20 minutes south of Yerushalayim. We're in the same geographical area as Efrat, for those who are familiar with it. Efrat is more like a small city or a very large town. They have their own municipality with their own educational system and Olim department and other municipal services. All of the other yishuvim in that area, including Alon Shvut that we'll be talking about now, belong to the municipality of the Moatzai Ezorit or Regional Council of Gush Etzion. It's important for me to tell our followers or viewers that if anyone's interested in hearing more about Alon Shvut or other yishuvim in the area, part of our job at the Olim department is also to speak with people who are just considering and doing research and meet with them on Zoom and hear more about what they're looking for and see if any of our yishuvim could be a good fit. In terms of Alon Shvut specifically, I'm going to hand things over to Gila, who could tell us more about her yishuv.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us here. I'm so excited to be able to tell you about some of the new updates and the changes that we're making here in Alon Shvut. I think that many people know Alon Shvut of old, a community here in Gush Etzion that is this year will be celebrating 55 years since the founding of the community. Alon Shvut started based around Yeshivat Har Etzion, or as Gush, most people know it as. And now we've built up this wonderful community that continues to grow, not just centered around the yeshiva, but really with wonderful families that have chosen to make Alon Shvut their home. We are currently around 850 families or family units that live here in Alon Shvut, divided up over two main neighborhoods. And we are completely self-sufficient here in Alon Shvut. We have a wonderful education system for kids ages 0 through 6 with many options. We have close by multiple schools that the kids can safely travel to by organized bus in the morning and come home in the afternoon. And for teens and for older kids, we have many more options for as far flung as Kiryat Arba or within Yerushalayim. But everyone comes home at the end of the day because this is where their lives are, where their friends are. We have three thriving youth movements, which keep our kids busy and involved in the community and socially in the afternoons and over the weekends. We also, those are for our kids, and that's constantly growing. We have our makolet, anything that you need. You don't have to leave the yeshuv. If you run out of milk 5 minutes before Shabbat, it closes right before Shabbat and is open on Motzei Shabbat. We have many shopping opportunities really close by. But I think what's really special about Alon Shvut right now is that even though it's a old community, and I mean that in that it's well established here in Gush Etzion, as well as it has a sizable population of people who are I'm not going to say old because I don't want to offend any of our viewers, but those who might consider themselves a little bit more mature. We also have a thriving and growing young population. For a very long time, Alon Shvut was not known for its young people. There was very little there was very little growth here. There was very little building that was being done. And now, thankfully, in the last couple of years and looking to the future, that is all changing. We have coming this summer a building project with 70 units, most of whom are going to be young families or families with younger children and school-age children moving in. There are building projects in the works that will become available within the next 3 to 10 years with a long-term plan of doubling and potentially tripling of the size of the community right now. So in terms of building a base and starting off in Israel, this is the ideal time to come to Alon Shvut, because while it's very established, it's also on the cusp of a tremendous growth surge. And as we know, especially in this part of the world, getting in the early days is definitely a smart move and a economic move as well. Here there is potential, there's amazing potential to be involved in shaping what this community is about to become over the next few years. We know of a lot of people who come on Aliyah who are hesitant perhaps to come to a community that has a reputation of a lot of Israelis that want to go somewhere where they want to be comfortable integrating language wise and having that time to be able to learn the language and to feel that support. Alon Shvut has that, and soon we'll hear for some more recent Olim. I've been in Israel for quite a while, but we'll be hearing from people who've made Aliyah more recently who can tell us more about that. But here you have the opportunity to not feel like you're in a bubble of Anglos within an Israeli community, but to feel an integration between having your comfort zone, but also really being absorbing into what living in Israel can be like. There are and I will definitely turn it over to my friends and co-residents who are here. I myself obviously live in Alon Shvut, and I do so with my husband and my 4 children. We find this as a beautiful, warm, safe place to live.
Don't forget to say that it's clean. Alon Shvut is incredibly clean.
That is true. I will definitely emphasize Alon Shvut is very clean. As I serve on the council, the local council here, I will say that one of the things that we really have chosen to make as a goal for ourselves, and all of our efforts are going, is to making sure that quality of life here in Alon Shvut isn't something that's neglected. And from all aspects, we are growing the services as well as the infrastructure that we offer here. I'm happy to answer more questions as we move on, but I definitely want to be able to have you hear from the people who live here and not just the people who are here to be the official voice.
Thank you very much, Gila. Shoshana, who would you like to ask to speak next about Alon Shvut?
Let's hear from Jonathan.
Sure. Thank you so much, Shoshana. Thank you, Gila, for presenting a summary of the community, as well as a future focus looking towards the coming years of growth, Bezrat Hashem. I'll share that I moved to Alon Shvut almost 4 years ago, moving from North America, and I was thinking about what to share. So I asked my now 8-year-old, who was 4, when we moved. I said, "What should I say about Alon Shvut?" And he said, "It's home. It just feels so homey, and I know all the people, and you can go into whatever houses you want and see people you know, and it just feels like home." And I thought it was really exactly the message that I thought to share, and the way I feel about Alon Shvut. I learned here in the yeshiva after high school, as did my wife, learned in the sister school in Migdal Oz, and we felt very much at home, and it feels like a community in a way that we were used to in America. We felt that we were part of a community, that there were community activities, and there were friends, and you know were able to integrate and find people like-minded and that you can get along with, and your children can be friends with. And we really have found that at Alon Shvut, and it's really very, very special. It's big enough that you have various people you can meet, different minds, different walks of life, but not too big that you feel lost. and it's just too much traffic or too many people, so to speak, in some larger communities. So that was one of the things that one of the reasons that we find Alon Shvut such a special place to live. In addition, it was very important to us when moving to Israel that our children integrate and that we integrate into the Israeli population, into the Israeli culture. And we feel like it is really a great balance between people who I can speak English to, if I need to, but also having friends, our children have friends, and we have friends who also are very much were raised or born or raised in Israel, and very much part of the Israeli culture. It's been a real um, important way to integrate part of our klita and part of the ideology of coming to Israel and contributing. Um, and also to share that I found for myself different ways to get involved, um, different ways that people reach out and are always excited that there are people who decide to come to Alon Shvut that aren't necessarily from here or have connections necessarily, and they just are so happy to have new ideas, new ways of doing things, and very open to that. So it is really very special. People have a lot of different interests, and I think that that's something which is exciting to meet new people on Friday night after shul, to talk to people. It really is a warm feeling, and it's a feeling of, as my 8-year-old said, it really is a feeling of home to come back to and to be in.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Just a short question. What type of demographic do you feel would be most comfortable in Alon Shvut?
I think that it's squarely within the Dati Lumi community. I think those who um, feel that they want to be part of a religious community, or they want a community that's traditional in its observance. There's definitely a spectrum, I think, within the community on that. And we have two amazing rabbis on the two sides of the community, Rev Rimon and Rev Eitman, who are very much open and interested in all kinds of Jews, and really inspiring figures. So those who are drawn to a community with a rabbi of that kind of, I guess, Mizrahi, or that kind of approach to religious Zionism, I think would feel very much at home, and very much connect
Thank you
from my
so
Right.
much.
perspective.
I'll add to what Jonathan said here within Alon Shvut. On a Shabbat afternoon, it is that we are a religious community. So the gates to the yeshuv, there are two entrances. There is a gate around, there is a fence around Alon Shvut. There are two guarded entrances at all times of the day. Those gates are locked over Shabbat, so your kids can run freely through the streets. They can play. They often are, parents will be sitting and schmoozing in the garden with friends, and kids are running out and going to someone else's house and then coming back and then running off to their youth movements and coming back. And you never have to be concerned that someone has gone somewhere where they shouldn't. There are always eyes out. And I think if you are someone who's looking for neighbors who you can go to at 9:30 at night or at 6 o'clock in the morning and ask for some milk or ask a question, or you need a ride somewhere, people who are that's what you'll find here. You'll find people who are warm, people who are interested in what's going on in your life. I would say people who come in to live very quietly and privately. The mindset here is community oriented. Everyone is willing to help and lend a hand and to be there in times of need, whatever it may be. But also everyone here has a role to play. So you can really get involved in all kinds of, in all aspects of what's happening here in the issue.
Thank you so much.
Can I ask one more question? Before we move on to Lonnie, who has older kids, I wanted to ask Jonathan if you could relate a little bit to the education. You came with kids in Ghana and school age, and specifically how it was for them as new Olim in the school system.
Yeah, absolutely. I came with four kids who began from 3 years old to 10 years old, And now, thank God, we have a Sabra, we have a fifth child who has started from the very beginning of the school system. But I think for my children who came on Aliyah, the integration has been really wonderful. I think having a balance, each of them had one or two friends in their classes, whether it was in kindergarten or in their daycare or in school, elementary school, who spoke English, and they were able to get that initial help, on understanding what's going on. Somebody who knew English and Hebrew, and that was really very helpful for them. And they also have now moved on. They continue to have those friends and new friends who only speak Hebrew, and they are completely fluent in Hebrew and understanding and learning and appreciating that. So I think both in terms of socially and academically, it's been a great way to adapt and integrate. In addition, the schools have I think, a long history of Olim, and so they know what to do. They have teachers who are aware. They have Ulpan programs, or somebody to that took the children out of class once a week to help them catch up a little bit on some subjects. And I think at all times, my children felt supported and seen. That's not to say, of course, there are, like in any school, children can have trouble, can have difficulty, but I think we remind ourselves that it happens anywhere in the world. It's just a little different when you're new or a new system. But I think the support is there. We found the principals, administrations to be wonderful. And I think they have a lot of experience, many years of Olim coming here. So that's made us feel a lot better and a lot calmer for our young children.
Thank you so much. Okay, so Lonnie, would you please share your thoughts about Alon Shvut?
Sure, happy to. It's always harder to go last because everything that's so wonderful about the issue has really been said and very, very well covered. I think maybe there's just a couple of things I'd like to expand on in terms of what made us choose Alon Shvut. My husband and I made Aliyah nearly 5 years ago. We came straight to Alon Shvut. Our 3 older kids were already living here, and we came with our 16-year-old at the time. He was in 10th grade. And I think if I maybe just sort of to expand on a few things therefore that have already been mentioned. So for example, Jonathan talking about coming with his children and integrating. I think I'm kind of coming from a bird's eye view of Jonathan's life, looking into his future. When I look at the families and the children of our chevra and our friends who have grown up here already, and they're now in their very late teens and early 20s, and I see how well they are integrated, and they made Aliyah also as young children, and how well they are integrated into Israeli society. But, they speak fluent English, they speak fluent Hebrew, they understand culturally where the Olim have come from, but at the same time, they're in the army, they're doing Sharut Lomi, and it's just such a beautiful balance of that respect of the world that their parents came from and the world that their parents brought them to in Israel. It's beautiful to watch. I think if I can just touch on a couple of other points that aren't necessarily about the internal parts of the issue, but things like location of the Yishuv. One of the big questions is, well, where do I live and where will my job be and things like that. And a couple of things that really have been, I think, so advantageous in being in this area and being in the Yishuv is firstly, because of its location, we're 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes from Yerushalayim, we're 25 minutes from Bet Shemesh. So if you work in the Merkaz, if you work in Tel Aviv, if you work in Ramat Gan, you are, a 20-minute drive down to the train and straight. My husband works in Tel Aviv and straight into Tel Aviv. So location-wise, you're not really cutting yourself off by living here. You can work in Yerushalayim, you can work south where drive down to Ashkelon if you want to go to the beach. It's also close, or you can get to the Merkaz. So I think location-wise, it's really quite a critical point as to where we are, because you can get to the north quickly and easily. You can get to the 1 to the 6, the main highways. So I think that's really, really important, because it is daunting to try and work out where you want to live, where you don't know where you're going to work. But one thing was told to us, and I pass this on to people: you need to find where you're going to live, where you're going to be happy, and where your Shabbat is going to be what you want it to be, where your Chag is going to be the way you want it to be, where the chevra and your friends and your kids' friends are going to be who you want to hang around with. And the work can fit around that. And Alon Shvut allows both of those to happen so easily. So it's just fantastic. The other thing also I find with the location, and I think that not all Olim necessarily think this far ahead, but for us, we want it to be somewhere when, you know, as Olim, we have family visiting from overseas, we have friends visiting from overseas, and we want to be able to see them when they come and they go, we've got an hour in Yerushalayim, come meet us for coffee. We didn't want to be too far away from all of that. So those are things that sort of external to actual living within Alon Shvut, but are really critical in terms of where Alon Shvut is located.
Oh, I think Lonnie is frozen. Okay, so
Seems to be.
until we get Lonnie back, I just wanted to ask some additional areas of interest.
Was that me that
Specifically,
lost you, or did everyone get lost?
oh, you're back.
You're back.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that.
How's the internet in Alon Shvut?
We have multiple providers and a lively conversation about the pros and cons in each one of them on our very many community WhatsApps. I will say that one of the things that Alon Shvut excels at is the involved conversation that takes place over WhatsApp. If you were worried about what demographic you fit into, and that you might not reach your people when you live in Alon Shvut, have no fear. There is a group for every single type of breakdown of any kind of person that you could be. And there is always a lot happening on those groups day and night. So the internet is definitely something that is discussed there.
We do have fiber optics, and it is overall excellent.
Right, Jonathan, you work from home.
I work at home on the
Lonnie,
computer
right.
all day, all night, and it's excellent. So
right.
Yeah. I think if I can expand on that demographic also, is that I think it's beautiful when you come to shul in Alon Shvut, is that because we have from, you know, the 90-year-olds down to the young babies, it's really beautiful, and it's very much what you're used to coming from, you know, Chutz La'aretz communities, where the parent, the grandparent, the grandchildren, it's lovely to see that. I think it brings a richness to the community. It means that people are around to be able to help people. If you're in a community where everybody is, you know, 25 years old with 2 young kids trying to, you know, just get work done and the kids home from Gan, having that older age bracket within the Yishuv is a huge benefit in terms of when someone has a baby, goes out on the WhatsApp, please make meals, or chas v'chalila during a shiva or anything like that. There's such a range of possibilities and groups of people that are around to advise, to assist, whatever it is. And just that atmosphere, therefore, also in the shul, it's just beautiful to see the multi-generational people that are there. And I think that it brings a beautiful feeling to the Yishuv. I'm just trying to think, you know, in terms of my kids, you know, my son was 16 when he came, and he's just so happy in the Yishuv. And there's friends for him. There's everything that he needs. I was also concerned that we would need to travel to Yerushalayim more for anything that we needed. But as Gila said, there's either within the Yishuv, there's the post office where you don't actually have to make an appointment. You can just go there. And there's the Makolet. And there are some health kupot within the Yishuv. If not, there's other ones in Efrat. So between Efrat, Kfar Etzion, which is another Yishuv within the Gush Etzion, there's a coffee place, Rosh Tzurim. And between the Tzomet HaGush, you really don't need to leave the Gush to get everything that you need. And something that's very unique about this area is the the uniqueness that people can walk between the Yishuvim here, and the kids can go between the Yishuvim here and ride their bikes, and there'll be multiple people going down to Kfar Tzion, where there's a big business center down there of a variety of shops, your hardware store, your ice cream store, your your bookstore, your everything, your supermarket, multiple supermarkets here. We'll go take our dog for a walk on a Motzei Shabbat to get ice cream at Katzefet, because it's a beautiful area to just walk around. You feel like you've got your rural, quiet, nice community, but you're never isolated. Everything is at your fingertips here. So you can have a real balance. One friend really hit the nail on the head, and Gila certainly was pointing to this earlier. People, I think of Alon Shvut of the old as being cookie cutter, and that there's the yeshiva, and therefore Alon Shvut is just an expansion of that. There is such a wide group of people, not just age-wise, but even within the same age group, that have different interests, that have different, ways that they like to do things. You can find your place here. You can find your people here. And I look 5 years back when we first came, and we came during COVID, which was not, an easy time to arrive. And I look now when we have a kiddush and we can have 60, 70 people in our home, and they're Israelis, and they're Anglos, and they're from England and Australia and Canada and America, and they are educators, and they're financial people, and they're lawyers, and there's just a bit of everything. And some cover their hair with a sheitel, and some wear a mitpachat, and some wear a hat. That for me is so comforting to feel that, we're open-minded to everybody that comes. Another beautiful thing that that's in the Yishuv, which makes me really feel like how we contribute beyond our own Dalit Amot, is that the shul will often host groups that are coming for Shabbat. It will be a group from a mechinah, for example, a non-religious mechinah, and they're learning about what religious society is like as they go and head into the army and go and have to mix with different cultures. And I love it. I love the fact that we're open to that, and we can contribute to even the greater society. So look, for us, it was the best decision to come to Alon Shvut. And I'm happy to answer any questions, and we look forward to seeing any of our viewers coming to join us here.
Wow, thank you so much, Lonnie. Very much. Wow. Shoshana, it sounds like that Alon Shvut is a place that really welcomes Olim, and there's so much as far as the quality of life in the community. How would a person go about researching? Okay, they say, they've seen this video, they're interested in learning more about the community. What is the next step for people to do?
So in the Olim's department, we have lists that include all the people on this Zoom right now who are contacts within the community of various demographics and ages, and different ages of their children, different professions. So whoever is interested and wants to talk to someone who's like them and living there now, we can find them the right people to talk with and network with. If people ever come on pilot trips and want to see it for themselves, we're happy to, the farther in advance we know, the better, but we're happy to meet them and bring them around, give a little bit of a tour. Where I believe you're gonna add some new contacts to the communities page, to the Alon Shvut page on the Nefesh B'Nefesh community website. And I just want to add, I think it came across anyway, but what I love about Gush Etzion also is I feel like it's just very like mishpachti. It's very friendly. It's very warm. It's very casual. Like I work even in the municipality. You think of a city, what's it called, like City Hall, in a city of like this cold, bureaucratic, whatever kind of place. But I work in the municipality, and it's people like us. It's people who really, really care, people who go the extra mile when they can to help somebody out. Very, very down to earth. And I feel like Gush Etzion in general is just, besides the whole community element that already came up here, it's special in that you feel like you're living in Israel. You know, you feel it's not just that it has this rural suburban feel, but you're in the mountains surrounding Yerushalayim. On a clear day, when you go to a high enough point, you could see Har Habayit. You see vineyards. Sometimes there's a donkey on the side of the road. Sometimes there's even a shepherd crossing with his sheep. You like see the bracha of Yaakov to Yehuda, who's Macharon, coming alive. There's archaeology all around us. Our kids, you know, sometimes have their Mesibat Chumash at Marat HaMachpelah after they finished learning Sefer Bereshit. It's very, very meaningful, and it gets past, it's part of the DNA of the kids when they grow up here, that, you know, by the time your kid reaches high school, they've been on the different, you know, maslulim in the area with school so many times that they roll their eyes, oh, we're going on Derech Havod again. But then you go as a family and they tell you, and this is where this happened, and this is where this happened, and when they walked to the Beit HaMikdash during Beit Sheni, they walked over here, and this is the milestone. And it's in their blood, that sense of identity and belonging to something bigger, and Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael and Torah Yisrael. It really comes together. Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right, now I'm gonna have to convince my wife we have to go and check out Alon Shvut.
You're welcome
Uh,
anytime.
תודה רבה, תודה רבה. Shoshana, Jonathan, Gila, Lonnie, I want to thank you so much for sharing. This is an incredible amount of information that I'm sure is going to help our Olim with their research. And thank you so much for sharing. And we look forward to assisting many Olim come to Eretz Yisrael. And like I said at the beginning of this webinar, if you have any additional questions and you'd like to be in contact with Nefesh B'Nefesh regarding communities, please reach out to communities@nbn.org.il. And if you are within 10 months of your tentative Aliyah date, please go onto the Nefesh B'Nefesh website and submit an Aliyah application. Thank you so much to everybody. Shalom,
Thanks for the
shalom.
opportunity.
Toda
Bye.
rabah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.